Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are back with a good one today. We are going to work on starting the processes of becoming a better driver of the golf ball. So fasten up your seatbelts, let's go for a ride. You see this spot right here? Looks like a pretty good one, doesn't it? This spot right here is what we call your delivery position. A lot of the guys that hang out on the forums will call this P6. But for today's video, we're going to call this your delivery position. And this is a position a lot of you just don't see with any golf club in your bag, especially your driver. And I think it's pretty safe to say that every single person watching this video wants to become a better driver of the golf ball. Every single person. In fact, I think you could probably ask Fred Funk, who hasn't missed a fairway since like 1943. You could ask him and say, hey, do you want to become a better driver of the golf ball? And he would probably say, absolutely. Just kidding, Fred. But I'm serious. We all want to become a better driver of the golf ball. And what being a better driver of the golf ball means is that we want to hit it more out of the center of the club face. We want to make sure that we're hitting it as far as we are possibly capable of. And we want to make sure that our misses are as small as humanly possible. Now, what does it take to be able to do that? Well, it takes a position of delivery like I just showed you, but it also takes a really, really buttoned up release. Your release, as you've heard me say way too many times in the past, is the most important part of the golf swing. It's where we start to transfer all of that energy that you just built up in your golf swing and transfer it out through the club head into the golf ball. But your release is only going to be as good as your delivery position allows it to be. So today, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be teaching you a simple little drill that's an isolation drill that allows you to feel what it's like to have your hands and your arms work independently from the rest of your body. And then I'm going to teach you how to sync it back up with your legs and your hips. And you're going to be amazed on how much different your position looks down through the bottom. And you're going to be set up for success as we move forward in the process. So hopefully you're excited, because I'm excited. Before I go any further, I want to thank every single one of you. It's crazy. Just a few months' time, we've already reached 10,000 subscribers on the channel. I am so humbled by that. I really am. I know this is a sport that there's a lot of different instruction out there and nobody really agrees on anything. I'm not here to ruffle anybody's feathers. I'm just here to help people get better at the game of golf. And I appreciate every single one of you to the fullest. And so if you are brand new to the channel and you have not yet joined the family, go down below, hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and let's get ready to start the process of becoming a better driver of the golf ball. You ready? Because I'm ready. Let's go. So a lot of you are probably going to panic when you hear the list of checkpoints that I'm going to give you. Don't panic. This list is just to check when you come down into a static position and stop. We don't hit positions in the golf swing, we move through positions. And the order in which I'm going to have you moving today is actually going to start a little bit out of sequence on purpose. It's designed to do that because you need to create awareness. So these checkpoints that we're going to make, and this is with a driver specifically here today, the two setup changes that we're going to make adjustments to, is we're going to make sure that our ball position has moved slightly up in our stance, and our stance is a little bit wider. Now, I usually have my ball position somewhere between the logo on my chest and the inner portion of my lead foot. So I like to play it a little bit more forward, but you want to remember that the more forward it gets, the more the path can be to the left. So you got to kind of find your sweet spot. So I'm going to have the ball position slightly forward of where the logo is in my chest, and I'm going to widen my stance ever so slightly. What my iron swing setup would look like would be this, okay? So it's just a minor change, okay? Now, from here, the position and the checkpoints that you're going to be looking for are in this exact order. You're going to make sure that you've got about 80 to 90% of your weight underneath your lead ankle. Your hips should be slightly open, somewhere in the ballpark of 5, 10, 15 degrees or so. You don't need to have them ripped open 45 degrees in the spot. That's not a position that you can sustain for long periods of time. You're going to have your shoulders and your chest pointed in the direction back behind the golf ball. So they're going to be slightly closed, and your hands and your arms are going to be hanging down underneath you, right in the middle of your trail thigh, and the club shaft should be parallel to the ground. Now, the final piece here, to know that if you've done this properly, is if you draw a line on the outside portion of my lead side of my body straight up, you should see that it forms a straight line in relationship to the ground. I don't want to see your spine lean back like this when you're getting ready to deliver it, not when you're starting out this drill. You can add that in as you get further, but remember, even if you come down into that delivery position and you're upright with your spine, when you start to rotate the hips open and you start to release the club, as the hands and arms are passing in front, you can see that that tilt increases. You don't want to do it earlier than that. That's when you start setting yourself down the pathway of club instability and starting to try to save it and compensate for things that you're doing improperly. Plus, it's really dangerous on the back. So again, the checkpoints are 80 to 90% of your weight underneath your lead foot, hips slightly open, shoulders closed, okay, hands and arms hanging down underneath you, club shaft parallel to the ground. Straight line outside the lead side of the body. You're gonna be back checking these on camera after you do sets. And we're gonna be doing sets of about 10 reps or so per golf ball if you're gonna be in the position where you wanna try to do this with a golf ball. What you should notice down the line when you start doing this at high rates of speed is you should notice that you see a window between your forearms and your wrist from a down the line perspective. That window, as the hands and arms start to pass and you start to fire, is gonna start to close up. But you wanna see that window there. Otherwise, what you've done is you've started to early throw the club, and now all your leverage is going to be gone, and then the club is going to be less stable as well. So as you start this drill, the best thing in the world for you to do is be able to have an understanding of what your hands and your arms are actually doing in your takeaway and your backswing. So if I were to stand down the line and I were to go ahead and take my setup position, your arms are elevating and your trail arm is flexing, right? So if I get into this position right here and I hold it and I just turn my body, you can see that I'm in that position that you would see of many tour pros. That position right there, how we got there was the arms were elevating and the right arm was flexing. Now the exact opposite would be the arms starting to come down from that position. And that's what we're gonna be working on trying to feel. So how we do this is we're gonna go ahead and take our setup. We're gonna have a little bit wider of a base. Ball position is gonna be a little bit more forward, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna shift and turn our body up to the top. Now from here, what I want you to do is I don't want you to move your hips and I don't want you to move your shoulders. I want you to bring your hands straight down towards your right hip or your right pocket. And what you're gonna feel is that the bicep, the inner portion of your bicep here, starts to go against your rib cage. Once it hits your rib cage, I want you to stop, take your hips, shift them left, and open them to about 5, 10, or 15 degrees, and stop and look at your position that you're in. You are in a position of delivery like we just talked about. How do we get here? All we did was lower our arms first, and then we moved our hips second. Now, in the golf swing, that's not really what's happening. The legs are gonna be starting to change the direction first. But what I want you to do is I want you to get connected to what you feel in your hands and your arms while your shoulders and your legs are staying very quiet. So what this looks like from a down the line perspective, so you see how the club and the arms are back in behind me here quite a bit? Now, if I take my hips and I shift them and unwind them, that's what's moving everything out in front of me. So even if you were to have your arms dropping way back into the depth dimension of the swing, your hips are counterbalancing that. That's what's helping move the arms back out in front. That's the whole big picture of the golf swing, but it's the sequence of movements that's critical. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do 2 or 3 reps just like that. After we check those positions, after those first 2 or 3 reps, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back up to the top, and now what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring the arms down and simultaneously move the legs and hips with what you're feeling from the hands and the arms, and we're gonna stop. We're gonna do that 2 or 3 reps. And then what we're gonna do is the next set of 3 reps is we're not gonna have a stopping point now. We're just gonna go ahead and start swinging through. And on that final rep, the 10th rep, and you can play around with your rep ratios as you're doing this, what you wanna do is you wanna start from an address position, go up to the top and move through it at right around 70 to 80% speed. If you feel like you are still very connected to the movements across the board, then what you can do is you can reward yourself and hit a golf ball. Now, if you're working on your golf swing and you're not using a camera or a live view or whatever, then you're doing it wrong. You can get into a world of problems if you're not using a camera. And I always encourage a camera over a mirror because you're gonna be looking down at the golf ball and I want your eyes focused there. If you're looking into a mirror, the way that your eyes and your proprioception and your vestibular process, it changes things pretty quickly. So I always encourage you to use a camera. If you back check things on camera and you notice that it's not looking anywhere close to that position when you're swinging through it on those 3 swings, then start to front load more of the reps with doing the movements correctly. You wanna create awareness early, stay aware, and then really do your best to be able to make the swing start to feel like a real golf swing inside of that, and you're gonna be on fire. So let me walk you through an entire set here now, okay? So I'm gonna have a golf ball ready because I am gonna be hitting golf balls here today. I'm gonna have my stance a little bit wider. I'm gonna load to the top. Now, a little trick here too is if you feel like you want to keep the club head up to the sky while you're bringing your arms down until that bicep hits the rib cage, that's a great way for you to be able to maintain some angle. A little pro tip for you. Okay. Notice how I'm being very, very focused, very concentrated here. I'm not trying to move fast. So I'm doing the reps where they're all working as one piece now. Now there's gonna be 3 reps where I don't stop, I just swing through. Now, a lot of you are gonna feel that. You're gonna feel a little bit of the ground with your driver. It's okay. Let the tension come out, the club will start to swing a little bit easier on you. You're gonna be taking in a lot of angle there, so your angle of attack might be a little bit steeper at first, okay? Good ball position, good stance width. Okay. So I'm feeling my right arm move into my rib cage as my hips are shifting, getting out of the way. And I know that when my hips are getting out of the way, where my hands and arms are gonna be, I just let it release. It's that simple. Now I'm gonna make a full swing, staying connected to the movements. Okay, and I'm gonna reward myself because I was really connected to it, make sure my ball position's good, stance width is good. Really good and solid. A straight missile there. Ball flight comes out a substantial amount lower than what I'm used to because I have an abundance of secondary tilt in my golf swing. Not that I want it, it's just something that has been embedded in my swing because I've been trying to launch it so high for so long because of the older equipment that I had. This is where we are all working together to start to correct this stuff. You're gonna see a dramatic difference in your ball flight. Let's do one more set. But I'm gonna shrink it down to a 2 to 2 to 2, okay? Two reps blended together now. Check your positions. Okay, 2 reps where I'm not gonna stop now. Okay, 1 full swing, 70 to 80% speed. Okay, hit a shot. Now, one final note before I let you guys go here today, and this is important, that when you're drilling and you're getting to the point where you're checking these positions, if something is out of place, let's say the club is down here or your hips aren't open enough, put yourself in the correct position and hold it static there for a second. Kind of visualize and feel it, and then go back up to the top, work on the sequence in kind of the reverse order at first, get connected to feeling your arms working independently from the rest of your body. Then sync it back up with your legs and your hips, and then start ramping up the speed. This is your time to shine, but in order for you to shine here, you've got to stay disciplined and work at the speed that you know that you're comfortable and capable of being able to produce quality. You got it? Okay, good.